So pay attention, that focus and understand, be vigilant, that if we want to be a people who save ourselves from much tribulation, trial, fitna, angst, anxiety, and from evil in the world, if we want to limit these things in the world, pay attention to the message. Understand the equity and equality in Islam. Understand the rights that women are due and also that men are due. Understand the rights of brotherhood, the rights of sisterhood, that we are all brothers and sisters, one religion. Critical message for people who live in the end of times. We know no one would deny that we live in such times of turmoil. And if we as a human race, if we only understood these things, we would avoid much of the problems that we see in the world today. So we wanted to open the class with this. Of course, we know what we see going on in the world. And, of course, not all of us are able to attend protests. Not all of us are able to engage society. We have careers, we have jobs. Maybe like me, you have toddlers, right? Not all of us can be socially active. Not everyone is able to, preach in the streets and so on and so forth. Not everybody's Malcolm X. I'm no Malcolm X, right? But we can all make the intention that we want to share the message of Malcolm and also that which he represents from the Prophet with humanity. And that should be an intention of everyone. Because I'll mention this. We live in times now where America is changing. If you're not in tune with that, please keep an ear to the street. Please watch the news. There's a lot of discontent and a lot of people are anxious and they want change, right? And we talked about the marketplace of ideas, and that in this marketplace of ideas, basically it's wide open now. And people's ears are more open these days for change. People are seeing that, wait a second, what you're calling, the current American democracy, quote unquote, the current American political scene, it's failing us. The current, maybe the way that the current structure of police, the way police are trained, the current structure of social society, something is wrong. And that we as Muslims, we are a part of this country, and we also have a voice. We have a table there, we have a virtual table, like we're on virtual Zoom right now. We have a table at that marketplace of ideas. So let's make the intention that we want to share our ideas with the rest of America. It's something that Malcolm X, he said, that, and you can read the biography, you can read quotes from the biography where he says that he speaks to white America. He speaks to white America. And he says that he would advise white America to study Islam because he sees it as one of the only ways of getting rid of the problem of race. And he mentions an anecdote, a story of his time overseas in the Hajj. He said that he sat down to eat with men whose skin were the whitest of white, eyes were the bluest of blue, hair was the blondest of the blonde. But he sat with these people, he would have lunch and dinner with them. There was no feeling of, I'm better than you, you're better than me. There's no feeling of that. It was just brotherhood. It was just, we're here to worship Allah. There's no class, right? Especially in the Hajj. But also we use the Hajj to also apply that in society, that we don't look down upon somebody for his skin color, ethnicity, language. We don't do that. We're actually equal under God. So Malcolm says that these people who are white people, they didn't have that racial superiority, right? Especially back then, everything was about race in America. And even still today, everything is about race. So we have white privilege. If your skin is white, you have certain privileges that maybe people like me and you don't have. And they're born with certain privileges. This is the reality. This is not being racist. Some people think, oh, you're saying white privilege, you're talking about racist thing. No, it's a reality in America today. And we have to understand that and also educate ourselves, right? And speak these truths. And many white people today would admit, yes, there's a white privilege. And there's a lot of things in the United States are still very much racialized. And some people within the United States still are white supremacists. And we know neo-Nazis and so on and so forth. These diseases, these pathologies are still existent in America today. And what's the answer? What's the way forward? It is Islam. The good news is, alhamdulillah, people are starting to listen. I recently added a brother. I didn't introduce him actually. He's a brother who I know from Facebook, and I know he's also a student of knowledge, who I added to our group. His name is Shane Atkinson. He's a Caucasian American, raised in the deep South. I think he told me Mississippi or Alabama. Well, he's very, very, want to use the best words, but generally these places are very, very racist, as we know. We may call them, Hicks, or you may call them rednecks. I mean, I try to avoid these words, but this is what America would apply to these places. Very, very often backward, racist, white nationalist, and so on and so forth. You'll find this in these areas. And he's from that background. And he said when he found Islam, it was a way out for him, because it's toxic. It's diseased, filled. And the human soul, it suffers because of those ideas. So a white person who's a racist, he's actually suffering. His heart is suffering. The human being wasn't created to be a racist. So if you're a white person, you're a racist, it's self-oppression is what we'd say. Self-oppression. You're oppressing yourself. You're holding yourself down. And it's like you're imbibing a poison, racism. And that Malcolm, he counsels us that the only way forward for America, as he saw it, and we also see it today, it's Islam and the precepts of Islam, virtues, right? Now, so we wanted to comment on this. So we all make the intention, the point, to keep it simple and short, that we make the intention that we want to share our faith with others as much as possible. Because, of course, we as Muslims, we need this healing, we need this shifa, and all human beings do as well. Right? There are Muslims who are suffering. The fact is, on a spiritual level, non-Muslims are suffering worse. This is the reality, especially in America today. People have grown tired of and this is what I've heard, right? We know we have people who call themselves nuns, not N-U-N, but N-O-N-E. They call themselves nuns. What does this mean? It means they have no religious affiliation. They're tired of the affiliations. They're tired of the Christian ways of doing things. They're tired of those old ways of doing things. People have grown tired of it. They're noticing it's not working. They're noticing that Christianity didn't, for example, have a moral stance or an ethical stance against the African slave trade. So people are like, Christianity, this religion, it often justified the African slave trade, something we should study in history. And people are tired. They're like, how can I be a part of a religion that would support this brutality? People ask that question. How can we support a religion that oppressed women for centuries? Read the history. Maybe some of us don't know this. Maybe this is news to some of us. I'll speak more about it. Many fathers of the Christian church, actually, is what they call them. Fathers of the church. They were actually of the opinion that women weren't really human beings. They're like half human. I'm not making this up. You can look it up. Don't take my word for it. You can read the research. They had the opinion, a lot of these church fathers had the opinion that women were not really human beings. They're like half human. I'm not making this up. This is why for the longest time in the United States, we felt the after effects of this when women weren't allowed to vote. Women weren't given certain rights. Why? Because keep them down. It's not worth it liberating women or taking care of women. And look at the effects that it's had on society today. Upheaval, turmoil, and so on and so forth. And deeper hidden things that many of us don't even see. Maybe we can have a conversation about that too. These are deeper things that maybe we don't see. A lot of dark things have resulted in the world because of that oppression. A lot of dark things. It's a different topic, but I want to highlight this. These problems in the human belief system, the oppression of women, the oppression of Black people, that has psychological and spiritual ramifications. A person, like you think maybe some people think that you will oppress a people 100 years, 400 years, and then everything is going to turn out okay. There are spiritual, psychological ramifications there. There are pathologies that result. And we should know this. And by the way, pathology, it means like a psychological sickness. So for example, some people are pathological liars, or we call also racism a pathology. It's like a sickness. So here we go. So this is also affecting the Muslim community. We should know about this. So some are leaving the mosque because they don't feel included. They feel like nuns. They feel like NONES. Like they can't express themselves. They're not given a place. And this is a reality. So there are people leaving the churches who are they're tired of the empty religion is what they're really tired of. They're tired of religions without soul. Right? Anyway, back to as it concerns Christianity, and also even in Judaism, you have these very, very sexist things. I wouldn't use sexist, but I'd say they're misogynist. We can be honest, right? In Judaism and also Christianity, maybe Christianity, the record's a bit worse. Wallahu a'lam. Of course, we're not accusing modern day Christians. They've come to terms to these things and they're penitent, right? They recognize that these things are wrong and they distance themselves from it. The Christian church to this day, it's trying to distance itself from its past as it concerns the African slave trade, and also is trying to distance itself from comments made about women. But look at the beauty of Islam though. From Islam's inception, from the founding of Islam by our father Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even before that with our grandfather Ibrahim, we have this purity. We have this racial equality. We have the Prophet counseling us to be good to our women, treat them well, that they are your partners. Allah blessed you with spouses from the beginning, from the inception. Islam didn't have to go through a reformation to figure out the issues between men and women. It's there from the beginning. We don't have to distance ourselves from, we don't have to distance ourselves from anything about Islam. We don't need a reformation. Like they had the Protestant Reformation. We don't need that in Islam. Right? Something really, really beautiful about the deen. The Prophet comes with a message that is applicable, and it's something that's praiseworthy, applicable, and practical until the end of time. This is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So